So when I saw that punch, I said to myself, okay, let me look at some videos of Angela fighting. So I saw a video of her fighting another person. I think her name was Do Dan from China. And Do Dan, they had a similar exchange, and she didn't quit. Because I was just thinking, like, maybe this girl's a quitter, but she's a good boxer. So I saw the exchange with Do Dan look similar to that, and she didn't quit. And it made me think, like, oh man, this might be some political shit. You know what I mean? Where like now is like somebody I get the whim that, yo, you know you fighting a transgender, right? Nah, no, I don't care. Boom, boom, boom. And then now you get in there, this lady hits you, and she's not transgender. It's like, nah, that's a transgender. I ain't supposed to get hit like.
No, Imani, I think whatever has happened with her, right? Even at the end of all of this, when everything is said and done, and we now realize that she's not a male, she wasn't born a male, and all the other stuff, it's still almost like an asterisk on her win, because everybody was so focused on the negative that now when the truth actually comes out, it's going to be like, well, nobody's going to be paying it any attention, because at the end of the day, we were so focused on it being negative because everybody wanted to say and have their think piece on a man fighting a woman and causing her to step out or, to not finish the fight. So it's, to me, again, we're doing the same thing, right? This is still just another way of misogyny, where we're now still taking away the glory from a woman who has trained her whole life to be here. Come here. Now we've just attached our own narrative to it, which is, hey, she don't look right. She must be a guy. All right, she's a guy. Now we made up our whole scene, and then it's like, no, she's not. And it was like, sorry.
Well, Rob, technically it's plausible, right? This plausible. This from the and this is why you can't profile and only go by profile, and you got to figure out the facts, right? So by looking at her, you want to be competitive even for your fighter too. You don't want your fighter fighting somebody that's transgender. But the fact that she's not transgender and they ran with that rumor, that's crazy. And the issue is she has it's called DSD. DSD is what she has, and it's different in sexual development. That's what it is. Causing somebody to reproductive hormones and organs can cause sexual development of a person to be different than others. So that's all she has.
And I think we grew up knowing it as somebody being like a hermaphrodite or something like that, right? Because
I don't know about. Yeah, right. Oh snap! I didn't even think about that.
Always knew them, or knew people to be hermaphrodites, where they had both sexual organs, and then they decided where they wanted to go with their sexuality, as far as was the female or the male genitalia, more dominant in your body. But again, I mean, to me, like I said, I think we're more focused on the wrong thing as opposed to the right thing. Right thing being that this person is not a transgender. We should not be utilizing this as a means of now creating this false narrative of transgenders versus cisgendered athletes, and more so just speaking on the fact that this person worked all her life to be here, and we have now tainted what they have worked hard for with somebody's fairy tale narrative. And I think it's messed up. I think it's wrong. I think we shouldn't have done it. I think it was classless. I think it was tasteless. I think on the part of anybody, and for the Italian fighter who had to kind of no mas that situation, you have to blame anybody. You should be blaming your coaches, because it's not like Ronald just woke up on Monday and decided he was going to the Olympics. These are people that qualified for it. So when you were training, watching videos, preparing yourself for the competition, was this not somebody that you should have compared yourself for, or not compared, but prepared yourself for?
Right.
Wasn't this somebody that you should, or did you not have enough confidence in yourself to say, there's a possibility that this person who was ranked as one of the best fighters is a person that I may possibly have to go up against? They did the same thing when Usain Bolt was winning. Remember, then it was like, well, damn, what is he eating? What kind of supplements is he taking? We're going to go to Jamaica and test the soil and the food that he eats. Because it's almost like people train and pray to be as good as they are, but then once they obtain it, then it's like we spend our whole time trying to figure out why. Like, no, this is impossible, because even though I don't do shit with myself all day, even though I don't train as much, right? Even though I may do 5 minutes of jumping jack and you're doing an hour worth of it, I'm going to still compare myself to you, right? Although The last championship I ever won was a little league football championship or a flag football championship.
Rob, let me hold you
somehow
there. Think about this though. Like I just want to go back to and I agree with what you're saying. Like, you know, people build themselves up, and there's people automatically just want to take them down as soon as they do that. But in this case, she's not a transgender. She's not at all. But because of how society is and how society has been for the past like few years when it comes to this and acceptance and all these different things and how everything is controversial, this is what we need to learn. That the term hermaphrodite is a forbidden term. You don't use that term anymore. So DSD is the term. So that's where I didn't know that. I didn't know that neither. I didn't know that neither. And that's what happens. We don't use the term. But I always thought about that. And then somebody asked me about the other day, like, what happens if I guess we would call it a DSD individual because hermaphrodite is not a correct term. You know, I'm not trying to offend anybody. What happens when a DSD individual gets into these sports? And I think this is the anomaly or the unicorn situation where it's like, oh, snap. Now, given that part, they did fail whatever test it was. They didn't even specify what that test was in 2023. There was 2 of them. So obviously she's definitely a cis female. So she's a female. But what happens is there an advantage because of the condition that she has? That is a legitimate question.
Let's not move the goalpost, right? Here's the thing. The difference between, if I offended anybody with saying the hermaphrodite, I didn't even know that, but let's say this DSD female. The issue now is it's not like she flip-flops, right? It's not like she's going to male sports one year and then to female sports, right? She's lived her whole life competing in female sports. She's identified as a female from the time she was born till now. So we can't compare this, right? This is not now Bruce Jenner deciding to be Caitlyn Jenner and now running in the Olympics the next year
and winning female of the year
and winning and getting, you know, world records and things of that nature. This is not the same thing, right? We can't now make this person the face of transgender athletes or trans anything, because again, the person doesn't identify as trans. But we can't also now decide that we're going to create our whole narrative off of this person and what they're going through medically. Technically, why are we even talking about it? Okay, the person produces more testosterone than any other female. Why would the Olympic Committee allow this person to compete if they were wrong? This is a committee that has kicked people out for doping years later, taking back medals and things of that nature, right? Why would they allow this? If this is something that popped up on the test immediately, why would the Olympic Committee allow it? Is it because now the Olympic Committee is looking to favor with the trans community? No,